Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We are going to do a special selection today, and I'm pretty excited about it given the description of today's song. Fabian Winter says, "My suggestion is Imaginary Point, Dream Ship. Probably the best Japanese jazz fusion out there." I love jazz fusion. I do. And I can't wait to dive into this and see what's going on. Yeah, so some really nice harmony layering there. Yeah, it's got a nice chill groove, but a rock vibe in the rhythm section. Yeah, I love the layering of this guitar with that keyboard tone. Ramping this up. Got some triple feels in here. Bringing back the theme with some more bass work. Even some flourishes on the theme as well. Very clean production too. Every instrument is heard quite clearly. The flute is such a nice little addition. Provides a nice levity and brightness compared to the rest of the instruments. I notice we got a double tracking on the bass here. Very clean. You got a bit of like a galloping idea in the bass. Yeah, this is wonderful. Beautiful stuff all over the place. idea there. Gorgeous. Yeah, that's getting a re-listen to later on today. No doubt about it. That was so good. All right. So, yes, jazz fusion 100%. Um, so it has sort of like a jazzy overtone with a lot of the chord progressions they're utilizing. It also has a jazz structure to it where we have sort of an ABCB idea, or sorry, AABA idea, where we take the core theme, we revisit it twice. Well, we revisit it once. We get two visits out of it. Then we move to the solo section, and then we return to the theme to close out. Very standard jazz song structure. AABA. But we also wrap that up within some sort of prog rock ideas and have a very strong rock-based rhythm section. And it all just comes together for some glorious music. So let's see if I can remember anything in particular that happened here, because honestly, I was just awestruck. Jaw dropped to the floor, mouth agape, just really enjoying what I was listening to. I would be lying if I said I was critically engaged the entire time. Sometimes you just gotta enjoy the music. So the theme itself has some really nice levity to it, some really nice brightness and bounce to it, and I think it's interesting that when we revisited the theme, there was some embellishment, some changes, some different ideas to it. We got to hear it in a new context. That is not always the case when it comes to a jazz song structure, but it's very nice that they chose that for this one. We had some rhythmic changes in the bass and the drums, and we even had a little bit of flourish in the lead lines themselves, adding in little 16th note lead-ins to notes that were just present last time. So we had a little bit of some embellishments going on there as well. Now, obviously, the core of the song is the solos, but I really think that, as with any jazz song, the theme of the song is exceptionally important, and I think they absolutely nailed it right from the get-go. They introduced the concepts of the song. They came in real solid with a basic idea. This is what the atmosphere is, this is what the emotion is, and they never betrayed it. They went all the way through the song, sticking within this very bright, bouncy, fun, energetic, type of song. And I absolutely love that. Now, don't get me wrong. I've talked about in the past, I also love novelty. Any song that can keep me on my toes is going to be a good one. These guys did keep me on my toes in a different way than changing up what the song was doing. But I really like when you just have a very strong, cohesive track, and it's just done exceptionally well. Now, the cool thing about this is there is a lot of subtle growth going on over this song. The song itself tells a very cohesive story, because we start out sort of small, sort of restrained, and like I said, as we keep going, we get all these gradual changes. We get some volume increases, we get some intensity increases, we add more notes, and we put variations on that core theme when we revisit it. So we're upping the intensity, And then once we hit the solo section, the intensity really skyrockets there, and everybody's playing ridiculously fast. We get some really nice runs here and there. The intensity is an all-time high. They're passing this intensity around. The bassist, the guitarist, the keyboardist, they're all getting a chance to show off not only their musicianship, but also their compositional skills. I don't know if any of this is improvised or if it's all pre-written. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, at least not as far as it pertains to this specific reaction. I do think it would be very cool to hear a live version of this with different solos, but that's just my jazz background, really enjoying the idea that every listen of a song can be unique. I can hear the same song 15 times and walk away with very different takes on the song, very different attitudes and emotions, and I really like how the live component works or jazz uses a live component as a pro to actually allow the song to live and breathe in the moment live. Not a lot of genres do that. Live is more about sort of the energy of being there, seeing the musicians on stage, or the musician having a crowd in front of you rather than playing to an empty room of your bandmates, or the producers on the other side of the glass if you're recording. It's a very different environment. But for me personally, I just really love that element about jazz where the live component is necessary and utilized within the music itself. I think that's just phenomenal. So yeah, like I said though, pertaining to the specific reaction of this specific video, it doesn't really matter if it's improvised or not, but it is something I'm curious about. Maybe maybe I'll end up checking out another version of Dream Ship if they have one, and seeing if it utilizes the same solos. Anyways though, as I was talking, I disrupted my own pacing and narrative. The pacing and narrative in the song is superb. We have this constant growth from the beginning, the intensity and complexity, energy, all of it hits an all-time high during the solos. And then we slowly bring it back down as we see our last theme, the last visit of the theme. We have a couple of new ideas within it. We have that really slick drum fill into a short cut into, actually I think that was the transition back into the theme. There's a little transitory section there. And then we have a final theme, and we have some really slick ideas going on here. For one instance, we had the piano and the guitar, and he would do one idea, and then he would repeat it, and then they'd line back up to finish it up. Like I said during the video, it's kind of cliche. It's a well-known trope in writing, but it works so well here. After hearing these guys all showcase their own skills, having that little fun back and forth, it's very nice. And then, of course, we finish off with that nice little drum fill, and the song ends there. We get a nice little like a jazzy ending into the final note, the period at the end of the song. And what it ends up having is this really nice curve of intensity that comes back down, and it's just nicely composed and paced as a whole. The song has fantastic narrative structure. But the cool thing is, I mentioned that this exists all throughout the song, and if we look at each of the individual solos, they are also expertly crafted in the same idea of providing a short narrative within the larger one. If you go back and listen to any of them, you will notice that unlike a lot of I bring this up with metal solos often, it's more of just a thing that is part of metal soloing, is that you can tend to hear the 4 to 8 bar ideas within the solo, and you can hear when one idea is stopped and the next one has begun. It's not usually a clean, fluid motion between all of these ideas. And I don't know if that's just a shortcoming of a lot of metal composers because they are used to writing riff-based music, so they write a series of riffs. Um, or if that is actually a benefit, if people really enjoy that style of soloing, and that's why it's continued to be pervasive throughout the years. I'm not sure, and I'm not saying that there is no metal out there with very strong, narrative solos. I've pointed out a few of them on the channel so far. But here, this is what I'm talking about. If you've ever seen me say that the solo felt disjointed, this is what I'm talking about would be the exact opposite of that. All of these solos, all three of them, don't ever really feel like a series of ideas harshly strung together. Everything feels like it flows into each other. There is great pacing. There's plenty of time for ideas to breathe, but there's also moments when they get to show off a little bit, throw in some 16th note runs or whatever, get some nice rhythmic elements in there. The bassist and the guitarist get to show off some two-handed chops. Synchronizing the picking against some wild fret playing. The keyboardist gets to do some really nice runs up and down the keyboard. There's definitely the moments where they get to show off, but the overall pacing of it is well done, and it starts usually at one point, rises up with intensity or complexity, or even they play around with tension and playing around with chords and outside of the chord outside of the key designated notes. And really getting some colorful ideas in there. The bass, I think, was most prominently, the bass solo was most prominently known for this. There's one section in the middle where it really got creative with taking some notes that were not part of the key and throwing them in there and adding a ton of color and characteristic to their solo that I didn't quite hear in the other two, though that is not to discredit the keyboard or guitar solo at all. It was a really standout feature for the bassist. And I think because they were first, I really noticed that the next two didn't really play around with that idea as much. But once again, like I said, we rise up, we get tension, we get intensity, complexity in some way, and we come back down and we finish off the solo really strongly with a nice resolution from what we've built up in the middle. So we have this overall pacing of the song, which is expertly done, and then we have these micro stories within where there's really good pacing and musical narrative design as well. The song is just expertly crafted from beginning to end, and the musicianship is obviously on display, as you can see and hear. I think anybody can watch these the people in the band, the musicians here, playing and being like, yeah, they're really good. You can see it even if you're not that informed about music. You can see there's a lot of skill in their performance. But even on a musical level, just their compositional structure is extremely solid. I don't know if they just have a knack for it. I suppose this could be entirely theoretical driven, and there's just a lot of theory behind it that makes it very strong on just a basic level, or if they just have that much experience writing this type of music. They all look pretty young, but youth doesn't really mean anything. They could still be, even if they're in their late teens, they could still have been writing jazz fusion for 2, 3, 4 years, maybe even more. I mean, who knows when any of them started writing music. So it could just be that they have a lot of experience with this and they know what works and what doesn't. But, I mean, it is just a beautiful song, top to bottom. And, the other thing is the mix. Maybe it's because we're coming off of Lo-Fi Mix. And we checked out that black metal stuff earlier from Dark Throne. That was just super gritty and compressed. And, this is just refreshing to me maybe, but it feels so clean. Every instrument is present in the mix. It's all segregated enough that you can tune into each instrument separately, but the mix overall works very well. All the instruments come together, the timbres and the tones, it all just fits perfectly into the sound sphere. everything about this. And I got it. Oh man, I just realized there's no flute solo. That's a bit disappointing. But I also noticed the flutist is the bassist, which is pretty cool. But the flute is a nice change of pace. We have more of a traditional rock element here, prog rock, especially when you incorporate the keyboard. And the guitar, the bass, and the keyboard all get a chance to solo. A lot of the song is kind of dominated by that rhythm, that jazz rhythm section sound, guitar, bass, and keyboard, and drums. So it's really nice to have that flute in there, even though it's primarily used during the theme sections, and used as in a way that kind of creates a counter harmony, or sorry, a counter timbre to the guitar. The flute and the guitar tend to play very similar melody ideas, and they take turns on it. They do get to play together occasionally, and I think that the timbres work very. In fact, all the timbres work very well together here. I mentioned the harmonies between the keyboard and the guitar just sound so good together. I don't know if that's pure mixing or if it's just the tone that they both picked for their instruments. It comes together so nicely. The flute mixes well with both of those as well. Like I said, everything just has its place and it just works together. It melds into this beautiful mix of sounds, and it just works so well. So yeah, Imaginary Point is on my to listen list, real high up. It's right up my alley. It has that rock edge, but it has a lot of really strong composition that we tend to see in jazz as well, and it's just perfect. So those are my thoughts on Imaginary Point's Dream Ship. This is where you guys come in though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this. Let me know if there's anything else. This is the kind of jazz fusion I was really hoping for when we did Jazz Fusion Week. From what I can gather from looking at the term jazz fusion, it's a very wide net, and it encompasses this style as well as the prog rock stuff that took jazz ideas, which is mostly what we checked out during Jazz Fusion Week. But I would love to do stuff more like this. When we were doing Jazz Fusion Week, I started the week off sharing a video of Miles Davis playing Burn in dang, I don't remember what year that was, but I shared the video as a community post, and I was really hoping to find more music like that, and unfortunately we kind of didn't get into that realm. We did listen to some really cool music. I'm not disappointed with with what we ended up getting for Jazz Fusion Week, but this is definitely more of what I was hoping we could have found. So maybe if we end up doing Jazz Fusion Week again, I might use this as an example of the stuff that I would like to check out during that revisiting of the theme. All right. Comments, description box has a link for Linktree in it. It's a really nifty resource. It's a menu with all sorts of links in it for everything adjacent to the channel. Whether you want to support me through Patreon, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, or submit your own special selection. All of those links are there, and more. Above the description box, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. As usual, we'll be checking out another lo-fi track, and we'll be looking at another special selection, I believe. All right, until next time, remember, be critical, never cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.